had the title, I had the budget, and I even had the receipts. And I still walked out of that room feeling small, boxed in, and low-key frustrated with myself. And an SVP from a competitor bank shows up. She is warm, she's friendly, and she's like, "I'm here to support you. I've got your back. I want you to win." She nods. She agrees. She says all the right words. "You're absolutely right. Bring it to steering and I will back you." And this is where the story turns. Who owns what? Who gets the credit? Who's afraid of the budget cuts? I am not leading this room. I am managing their tension. If you've ever left a meeting thinking, "I knew better, I could have played that different," this one is for you. I want to tell you about a story I call Contained in the Boardroom. And it's a story about the day that I had the title, I had the budget, and I even had the receipts needed to change. And I still walked out of that room feeling small, boxed in, and low-key frustrated with myself. So picture this. I get tapped to lead this big, shiny transformation for a bank. On the slide deck, it looked impressive. 13 transformation pillars and all these stream of work, buzzwords everywhere. But the minute I started reading between the lines, I realized something. 4 of those pillars were just old, stalled projects with new names. Same stuck work, different branding, and I saw it immediately. Now, this is where I made my first move and later realized it was not my power move. Instead of pausing and saying, "Hold up, this architecture is off," I told myself, "Be a team player, focus on your lane, deliver treasury, earn the right to challenge the rest later." So I focused on the Treasury Transformation Program, which is the one I was leading. Meanwhile, the whole environment around me was loud. The internal teams could not stop complaining about the consulting firm that designed the original strategy, McKinsey, even though their people were still hanging around in these fuzzy advisory roles. But at the same time, the bank started quietly laying off leaders who had been involved with Treasury before me. And then, like clockwork, the SVP that hired me was let go, and an SVP from a competitor bank shows up. She is warm, she's friendly, and she's like, "I'm here to support you. I've got your back. I want you to win." You know the type. Fast forward. That same VP is the one who pushes the SVP who hired me into early retirement. So now my original sponsor is gone, and I'm left navigating a new power structure that I did not design, did not fully trust, and had not had time to really map. On paper, I was running this treasury transformation, and I had the responsibility for the budget and how it got used. But any meaningful decision-making, the hiring, the firing, the shifting strategy, changing the scope, had to go to Executive Steering Committee. So I did what a lot of us do when we care more about the work than the politics. I went to the trenches. I sat with the teams. I watched how the work was actually being moved, not how it was supposed to move, but how it really flowed on a random Tuesday afternoon when 3 systems were down and somebody was out sick, and a client was calling every 10 minutes. And as I'm doing that, I'm checking what I'm seeing against what McKinsey had documented. Listen, they had missed so much. All of these side-of-the-desk processes, manual workarounds, fragile handoffs, the stuff that actually held the operation together and had shaped the real customer and employee experience was not even documented. And that's when I knew we needed a process engineer. Not as a nice to have, but as a risk mitigation. Someone had to surface and document these hidden processes before we started ripping out all of the systems and rebuilding. So I go to my new SVP and I make the case. I walk her through what I'm seeing. She nods. She agrees. She says all the right words. "You're absolutely right. Bring it to steering and I will back you." So me feeling confident, I walk into that steering committee meeting believing I had alignment. And this is where the story turns. I present the need for a process engineer. I walk them through what I've seen on the ground. I connect it to risk, to customer impact, to employee experience. And then, very quietly, the conversation starts to shift away from the work. I realize I am now mediating between executives with completely different agendas. Who owns what? Who gets the credit? Who's afraid of the budget cuts? Who's worried about this transformation and the problems it might expose that land at their door? So I'm trying to keep the conversation on what the program needs, but the whole time I can feel it in my body. I am not leading this room. I am managing their tension. I felt contained, not because I didn't know my stuff, but because I didn't have a clear recommendation, because I had skipped a step I cannot skip as a woman of color in these spaces. I had not power mapped that steering committee. I had not met with each member one-on-one and asked, what does success look like for you in this transformation? I needed to understand their fears about visibility, replacement, blame, resources. I needed to frame my ask in their language for their priorities. So when my requests got challenged, I was bringing logic into a room that was operating on politics. And walking out of that meeting, I had this moment of honest reflection with myself. I didn't just lose that argument. I was underinvested in the power structure. That was hard for me to admit, but it was true. All right, let's turn this into a power move you can actually use. Here's the move. Don't treat the big meeting like the main event. Treat it like the final performance of work that you've already done behind the scenes. For women of color in these roles, the real leadership happens before you ever sit down at that table. So here's a simple three-step power move you can steal from my mistake. Number one, power map that room. Before the meeting, list out everyone who will be there and ask yourself, who actually makes the decision? Who influences them? And who is afraid of what this transformation might surface? Number two, pre-meet for alignment, not approval, alignment. Schedule short one-on-ones, even 20 minutes. Use language like, here's what I'm seeing, and here's what I'm going to recommend. What would make this a yes for you? So you're not begging, you're building a coalition. And number three, walk in with receipts and relationships, the data, the risk, the stories from the trenches. That's your receipts, the one-on-ones, the pre-alignment, the shared language, that's your protection. And when you have both, you're not just the person making a recommendation, you're the person orchestrating the decision. That's the power move. Don't just prepare your slides, prepare the system. If this story hit a little too close to home, I want you to do two things. First, your personal call to action. Think about one upcoming meeting where you've been treating the calendar invite like the moment. This week, choose one person in that room to pre-meet with, just one. Try the power mapping and the pre-alignment even in a small way, and notice how the energy feels when you walk in. Second, you know, in the transformation studio and in my executive transformation work, we love receipts. So if you've got a story where you've walked out of a meeting feeling contained, or a time where you flipped the script and walked in with power because you did the behind the scenes work, I want to hear about it. Share it with me so I can share it with everyone else. Send me your receipts, DM me on Instagram or LinkedIn, or email me at lisabennings@continuumtransformation.com. Boardroom receipts is what you should put in the title and the subject line, and then tell me, what was the room? What happened? What did you do differently, or what would you do differently now, knowing what you know? And I want you to know, I may feature your story anonymously or with your name if you're okay with it in a future episode so that we can all learn from each other's lived experiences. I want to thank you for being here, for doing this work on purpose, and for refusing to shrink in rooms that still don't know what to do with your power. Until the next time, keep your vision big, your strategy sharp, and your receipts ready. Own your voice, own your power, be intentional. And I'll see you in the next episode.